I am Groot. Welcome back to the channel. So glad to have you. Pull up a chair. Today we're going to do something fun, and a grown man probably shouldn't be having this much fun carving silly little things, but I've been carving baby Groots, and they have been so much fun. And I want to show you guys how to carve baby Groot because it's just a blast. And you only need 1 by 1 inch stick, and we're going to do this pretty quick, pretty easy. Let's jump right into it. This is what they call third time's the charm, because I have recorded this video and how to carve this guy several times already, and the audio keeps cutting out on me, having problems. So I'm still learning new camera systems that I've gotten, so please bear with me and have patience. But I believe I've got everything sorted out now, so this video is probably my best one yet, if we can get through it. So we're carving Groot. We're going to do so on a 1 inch by 1 inch block that is 4 inches long. So we can tape measure out here. 4 inches long, and it is 1 inch by 1 inch. These are the cheap ones. You can find them on Amazon. You can find them at Lowe's Hill Sawmill or a Heineke. They offer those solutions as well. Real cheap blocks. Amazon's got them real cheap as well if you can't find them anywhere else. The measurements for this guy are real easy. It is 1 3/8 down to the bottom of the chin or our neckline, 2 inches down to the top of the hands, 2.5 inches down to the bottom of the hands, and 1 inch from the bottom or 3 inches from the top for where the pot is going to be. And I can hold this guy up there so you can get a little visualization exactly what we're talking about. So bottom of the hand is 2.5 inch, top of the hand is 2 inch, 1 3/8 from the top for the bottom of the neckline, and 1 inch from the bottom for the bottom of the pot. And that's what we're going to have. Now the top line for the neckline and the bottom line for the pot, we're going to transfer those all the way around the carving. So I'm going to use my pinky as a guide there and just transfer that line all the way around. There we go. This new solution for mounting the camera where it's at is mounted to a shelf adjacent to my desk. So I'm shaking the desk here. You shouldn't be seeing any camera shake at the same time, which is the whole goal here. Now we're not going to transfer the lines for the arms around the sides. We're just going to leave those in the front. So the pot and the head neckline, that's going to transfer all the way around. I'm going to jump right into it by starting to set the neckline. And we're going to do little V cuts here on the neck. Coming in from the top, coming in from the bottom, just to create a little indentation there. We're going to do that on all 4 corners. It does not need to be perfect at this point. Just needs to get close. Just to start to provide a little depth, start to block things in. As you get more depth or more into character carving or figure carving, you might wind up getting a bandsaw or something like that at some point if you get really in depth in this. And a bandsaw just allows you the blocking in process faster. So we're going to do the same thing that one might do on a bandsaw for a bigger piece, just on a smaller one. All right, so now we got the neck cornered in. Let's do the same thing on the pot down here. But for the pot, we're not going to do a V cut. We're going to do a stop cut. We're going to come in on that corner, holding that knife blade. You can see it's straight in. And I'm just going to rock it in, and then I'm going to carve down to it, using that left thumb to pull the knife blade down. So your grandpa might have taught you never to cut in the direction of your hands. Well, this isn't necessarily that case, because we're going to be wood carving. You're going to be cutting in every direction all the time. And so on something like this, I rock that knife in, and then I'm not going to be pushing with my right hand. It's the left hand that's doing all the pushing, all this, the left thumb. My right hand is going to barely hold it. And I'm going to barely hold on the knife here so you can kind of see it better, right? I'm going to be pulling down with that left thumb to get it right in there. The right hand is just holding the knife in the air so that the left thumb can control that cut. I'm not going crazy trying to cut down into myself. I'm not losing control of that blade. When it comes to whittling, and it comes to wood carving, especially little figures like this, proper control of the knife is the best way to prevent cutting yourself or prevent injuries. Wearing gloves, carving gloves, or wearing vet wrap like I've got on my fingers here, that's fantastic. And that will absolutely help. It's nice you make mistakes. But the best thing to do past that is proper knife control. Is making sure you know where the blade's going to be, where it's going, and keeping your fingers out of the path of the blade while you do that. Okay, so now we're going to work this back around. On the neckline, we're going to do that all the way around. So you can try to go all the way across this whole section right here at once, like so, and then just come right down to it. If you don't like that, doing all the section at once, do it about half, like this, and then do the other half. There's the back side work on now, like that, and then do the middle. And you're taking out smaller chunks. Smaller chunks are easier to manage and easier to accomplish. So if you find yourself not able to quite do as much as I did, just do it in less cuts, like that. I'm going to do this one here in one cut as well, like that. All right, now we're going to do it right here in the front. And in the front, same thing. One cut all the way across, right up, and then right down to it. And that provides us with that indentation all the way around. Now we're going to take about 1/4 of an inch off of each corner. So right here at the base of where that V-cut is, I'm just going to cut up. Now I want you to be careful here because you can easily slip through the wood grain. If you don't know much about wood grain, watch the video I have on wood grain explaining it properly. But the wood grain here is traveling vertically. And if you get in between that wood grain, you can split the wood grain and the knife will slide really quick sometimes, right up through there. And if it slides quick and you're not expecting it, and you've got your finger maybe up here on top and you're carving like this, that's where you wind up slicing into your finger accidentally. So be mindful of the fact that it could go between that grain and split really quick and move fast. So we're just going to start pushing right here. This is where it was split. I slowed down there. But you see how it tore there? That's what I'm talking about with it splitting against the grain. So I'm going to clean that up a bit. But that's where someone could have got hurt. Because it tore, we got that side a little bit more than this side. See how they're uneven? So what we're going to do is we're just going to make this side match the other side. And that mark there on the top there, that's just from the manufacturer when I got the wood. Does that make it match? A little bit further over. A little bit further over. That's pretty good. That's matching a lot better. Okay. So we got that corner. We got the two back corners to do now. And we can just take about 1/4 inch off each side just to bring that head in a bit and provide a little bit more shape. Okay. Now let's do the same thing here, down here in the bottom. We're going to start cutting in the bottom of the hand. And we need to take a lot of wood out. If you take a look at the overlay here on the left, if you're new to the channel, that overlay is a picture of the carving that we're doing right now. So what we're going to do is we're going to work our way down to bring in the base of this, because Groot is a little tree figure, right? He's growing out of that pot. So we don't need all of this extra wood down here. So I did a stop cut right there along that line, and I'm just going to carve right down to it and pop that out. I'm going to do that a few times to create a little depth there. I don't go too high up, but there we go. And I'm going to work it up to the front, but right here in the front, I am going to come in right here to the bottom edge of that arm, okay? So straight in with the carving. I'm not going in an angle left or right. I'm coming straight in, and I'm just going to rock it on that corner. I use my left thumb to pull it up to that thing, and I'm just going to pop little bits out. Now, if you're not right-handed, you'll be doing each of these cuts differently than I am. And you'll probably be cutting differently than I am, depending on your wood grain. You'll see me to go to correct something, or a split or something like that, or a tear. And depending on the wood grain of your particular piece, it's not going to split or tear in the same spots that mine does. That's why you should watch that video on wood grain if you don't really understand it yet. But that's also the difficulty with doing a carving tutorial. Straight in cut for the top of that light there, and I'm going to cut down to it. That's also the difficulty with doing a carving tutorial, is because you can't just follow step by step and carve every cut that I do all the time, because depending on your piece of wood, you may need to adapt things. So while we're doing this, we're wanting to pay attention to the wood grain and learn how to make those choices, how to make those leaps for ourselves, so that you don't always need me to guide you. All right, so we got a little bit of wood out there. Now we're just going to work on creating some depth here. We're just going to keep taking a little bit off the top, a little bit off the bottom, a little bit off the top, a little bit off the bottom, and just provide a little depth there to this guy. Working that depth in, bit at a time. There we go. We got that started. All right. Now, let's go ahead and cut in this line along the top of the pot, here along the back. And straight in, rocking it back and forth to get a little depth. I'm not getting much depth, just a little bit. And I'm going to carve right down to it. to make that stop cut. Now I didn't do a big cut first. I'm creating that ledge there, that shelf, right there. Once I get that little shelf created, I can carve larger chunks out because I've got a bigger stopping area there. That stop cut. It's easier to stop there and harder to split the wood there, which means I can try to bite off more. There we go. We're starting to shape that up. Do the same thing here. These back corners, we can actually come up here real high to the shoulder area and start to bring that into that back corner. Do the same thing real high up in the shoulder area. Bring that in on the back corner. Take a little bit more on this side. And then we're going to cut across that back. Stop cut right across there, coming straight in, rocking it back and forth, and then carving right down to it to knock that out. And we're getting him blocked out. This is what I talk about blocking something out. People do this who are more advanced with a bandsaw to get to this point so they can start carving from a section like this. All right, so now we got things blocked out, but we can start to see the general shape of what we're going for. We're going to move on. We're going to start carving that neck in a little bit more. We're going to go deeper in on that neck, like so. Deeper in on this corner. Deeper in. And deeper in here. And let's raise. What is that? I thought maybe that was a cut. That's just red paint. Okay. I got some good depth there. Adjust this a little bit to make it match the other side a little bit more. Okay, now the next thing I want to cut off is we've got all of these saw marks here from the bandsaw. There and here. We want to start taking some of these off in the head because paint and stain go to a knife mark different than they will a saw mark. And a lot of folks on Instagram or Facebook, whatnot, when they're posting their carving pictures, they're like, I don't know why it's so splotchy or it's so different of a texture between one section and another, and they don't realize it's because they're painting over those saw marks. They didn't take them off. We want to make sure that every carving we do, we get those saw marks all removed, because that surface there, after it's been cut with a knife, look how smooth that is compared to how rough that section is. And you can imagine how much differently that'll take paint and stain, I'm certain. So we're just wanting to barely take any wood off. Just barely get in there and slice that off. Okay, so we got the head done all the way around. We're gonna do the same thing here. Let's do it in the back. Got a little high shoulders there. I'm gonna take those out as I increase that angle up to the neck. Same thing on the other side here. As we increase the angle up to the neck. And we're gonna take that little section off right there. Now, for these hands, we want the arms to come down in the front, but we don't want them to be sitting out too far. Like we want the shoulders to be out too far right here, right? Because we can wind up, if the shoulders are out too far, looking like the arms are coming out of the front of this chest. But the arms come out of the back of the chest there, as you can see in the overlay. So to do that, we're going to start to carve in from that line right here, a bit up, like so, kind of swooping cut, okay? Do it again on this side here. I'm going to go in, and I'm just going to swoop in and up. So I go in and just swoop in and up, like that. It's kind of tricky to do, but it works out pretty well. So that is going to bring those shoulders in a bit, so that we're not having them out in front where we don't need to have them. All right, so now we're going to carve straight across here to the top of the arms. Straight across, I'm going to rock that knife back and forth, putting in a little depth. And then I'm going to carve up to it from this direction here. And I'm also going to take off all of that saw mark right there along the way. And just put a little depth to the top of the arms as I go. And just keep on bringing that in. Okay, now we can see that that swooping cut we did, we might not need to do that yet. We might need to do that now, because that chest is kind of popping out right there. We don't need that. We need that to be more in. So let's bring in right there. And what I'm doing is I'm cutting out that section like so. It's a good sized section just to bring that chest in a little bit, bring that chin in a little bit right there. Let's provide a little bit more depth. So we're going to do a real sharp V cut right in that center line just to provide a little bit more depth to that neckline. And then we're going to, right where we did those swooping cuts before the sides, we're going to bring that in a little bit harder right up to the neckline. We're going to bring this one in right to the neckline as well. And that's going to help us to set those arms back a little more. I'm going to make this more even. You can see on the right side it's a little different than the left side. I'm just going to even that out a bit. And that looks much better. Okay. So next, let's work on taking off those saw marks on the left and right side. Right there. A little bit. Left side as well. There we go. Got those saw marks off of each side. Yeah. Now, before we get too crazy on doing the figure, let's go ahead and knock out the pot real fast. I jump around a lot. Bear with me. We're going to get it all done. Okay, so on the pot, we need to create, as you can see on this one, slanted sides all the way up. So we're going to remove more in the bottom than we do on the top. We're barely going to remove anything on the top at all. And you can do this as a cylinder. You can do it as a square block if you want to, if you don't want to do this. I like having that shape that you can see on the overlay. And we're just going to go ahead and do that. So about midway down is where you're going to start taking more off. But I'm going to try to take all of the saw marks off first. Real fast. Then, about midway down, taking off more of that carving. One moment. Okay, so I had to stop the video there for a minute because the mailman came and my kids lost their mind because they're expecting a package. It's after Christmas and they spent their Christmas money. Anyway, we're back to it. We're working on the pot. And like I said, we're going to start midway down and start taking that off and start creating a little bit of an angle there on the bottom of the pot here. So I'm just going to do that right here and create a bit of a plane there, like so. And then we'll try to match it on the other side. Same kind of thing going on, taking more off on the bottom than you do on the top, and then also making sure you remove all of those bandsaw marks. And take a look. Is that pretty even? We could do to take a little bit more off of the left side, I think, than the right side. So let's do that right now, like so. And that's looking pretty good. Let's do the same thing now on the front and the back, or the left and the right, I should say. So starting midway, start taking that off as I carve it down and take off all of those bandsaw marks as well. Starting to get a little bit of an incline, but not too much. Let's do the other side real quick, and then we'll even it out to both sides, working our way down. And take off those bandsaw marks. We got a good incline there. We need to increase the incline here. What do we think there? That's a little bit of one, and yeah, that's pretty consistent, I think. A little bit of a bow right there. And you don't have to worry about it this much. I might be worrying about it too much, trying to make sure that pot's looking good. But it'll be all right. Got a little bit of saw marks right there. Take them off like so. Yeah, he'll be looking real good able to sit there like that. Okay, so we need to put more of an indentation on the left and right side of the head. You can see he looks kind of square right now. So we're going to bring this up at a pretty sheer angle and down as well, like so. Do that on that side. We're going to do the same thing on the other side, like that. And now we want to increase the way that neckline comes down on the back of the head. Maybe raise that neckline up a little bit. So I'm going to do that like this right here and bring that neckline up along the back and do the same thing back here. So like a little bit of an angle like this right here, back here. And I come down to it and I carve up to that new line and then coming up into that new line to just bring that up a bit. And we can take those hard corners off on the back of the head, like that. Okay, that's what we got going on right there. So with flat plane carving too, you want it to look like it's been carved. So I like these rough edges, and you can see them on these guys here, right? Where you get these carving marks, or where you can see it's done by a knife. I like the look of that. I'm not trying to get rid of that. I enjoy that. So that's the kind of carving you like, you're in the right spot, because I like that kind of carving too. If you don't like that kind of carving, well, I'm so sorry. Maybe a realistic carver might be more your speed. I like the silly little things though. Okay, so we've got the start here in on our hands, and we need to start to finish this out a little bit. So to do that, what we're going to do is we're going to start to define where the arms are. So we're going to come in, if our knife blade right here is straight in line with the carving, we're going to come in at a bit of an angle for this side right here. And this over here for this side, we're going to do a bit of an angle like so. We're going to kick out the bottom of our knife to the left or the right, depending on what side we're doing. So the opposite direction of whichever side we're doing. If we're doing this side, I'm going to kick that bottom out that way. If we're doing this side here, I'm going to kick that bottom out this way to create little marks. And it's going to be pretty easy to show you what I'm doing. I'm going to come straight in with it, but kicking that bottom of that knife out. And I'm just going to bring in that cut like that. And you can kind of see, it's hard to see there with the knife blade because that knife blade will change the focus. So that's what I'm doing right there. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side, like so, and just bring that cut down to there, like that, right there. And you can see that. Okay? And now what we're going to do is, actually I think that one on the right here, I think that's too far in. I love making mistakes like that because then I can show you what I'll do to fix it. And what I'm going to do to fix it is I'm just going to redo the cut a little bit further over, like that. Okay, and then we're going to ignore the fact that the first cut's there because we're just going to trim it out. So I'm going to flip this guy upside down. We're ignoring that cut because that cut was a mistake. We're going to go with this cut. Okay, now I'm just going to bring it in at an angle like so, and then try to snip it out a little bit deeper, and then snip it out. And we're going to do the same thing on the other side here. So I rotate the carving to do this other side because that's what feels natural to me. You do what feels natural to you. Snip it down and cut it out. Get a little more depth on it, and then snip it out. Okay? And then for those arms, they're a little bit too much of an angle, too sharp of an angle. We'll just trim those down like so. It takes too much pressure to do it that way. So we'll do it this way. And then boom, it happens so easy. When you get the right angle on it, it just clicked. Did you hear that? How easy that was? That's because that was the right angle to do it at. Always try to find the right angle to do your carving. Okay, now these arms, we want to have them come back here. We haven't started to define those back here. We're going to carve in the arms, and we're coming in straight in and out, and we're going to bring it down to where the bottom of the arms is where the tip of the blade is, and we're going to come out at the back where the top of the arms is. So you see the top of the arms, if we bring that line straight across here, that's about where the back of the blade is going to be. So we're going to rock back and forth at about that angle right there. Okay, so from the bottom of the arms to the top of the arms, angled backwards. And I'll show you once I get this in, just rocking it back and forth. Okay, that's kind of the line. And that top of that line there, it should be in line about with where the hands are. And then we're going to carve up to it and just start taking out little chunks of wood as we do that. Okay, so we're going to do that same thing to the other side, and then we're going to start carving all this other wood out here at the bottom to get rid of that and make our little Groot stick figure look at a little bit more like he's growing out of a plant. So rocking it in on the other side, like so, same kind of cut, and then I'm just going to carve right up to it, like that. Snip that out. And snip that out. And if it's easier to carve from the other direction, flip it around and do that. Carve down to start taking some of that out. And we started to get more of a figure that we're looking to see. So let's take out some more all the way around here. Just start taking out more of that body all the way down the carving. Start bringing him in towards the center of that pot and bring him to life. I am anxious to try carving this guy on an 8-inch long stick. I have got an 8-inch long stick cut sitting over to the side, and I want to carve a big one. I think the wife will like seeing a big one done. She doesn't claim all my carvings, but she has first right to anything that I might list online for sale or give to a friend. She can say, nope, that one's staying here, Johnny. And I say, yes, ma'am. Because, well, I like making cool carvings for her. If I get her excited about something I made, that's a bonus. Taking off the back shoulder there a little bit to round that out. So see what I did there? This side here, we're going to do the same thing. So I'm just going to start here at the top and just kind of bring that in some because it was out a little bit too far. And then take a look at it right there, see where we're at. Looks good. We want the back to be out a little bit and then have it come down into the pot. So we're going to swoop that down in. And I'm going to do that a little bit more here. I want to point something out to you as well, too, right? When you're in the middle of a carving, carvings usually look terrible. So if you can, look at all these lines here on the top of that pot. Those are terrible looking. Let me adjust the light. Okay? All those lines are at the top of the pot. Those are terrible looking, absolutely atrocious. But my carving looks like that right now too. I'm going to fix that before we move on. Before we're done, that's going to be corrected. And you don't have to fix it right now. You can fix it when you're doing all the cleanup. You don't leave stuff like that though. Getting accustomed to going around and cleaning up your cuts are going to make your carvings far, far more presentable. You will enjoy showing them off to people more when you take a little time to clean things up. And that's just a win. Just a win. You can see I'm carving a little bit from each direction here because it's a small spot, it's hard to get to. I carve from the middle up, I carve from the middle down, taking out little chunks. Trying to take that back in nice and deep underneath our arms, which don't look like arms yet, but they'll look like arms when we're done. We got big plans for those arms. Big plans indeed. Okay, let's take a look. He's starting to shape up. We've got a little bit more wood on the right side than we do on the left. So let's take out a little bit more on this side over here. Isn't that better? Starting to get better. Let's take out a little bit more up towards underside of that arm. Looking good from the front, the sides. Our bottom of our arms here aren't even across there. So let's go ahead and raise one of them up. Closer. Much closer. There we go. And you're going to spend some time just cleaning up when you get this thing going for yourself. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. Now for these arms here, I'm going to do that curved cut again. I want to bring them in a little bit more. I'm going to come in at the top of the arms and just kind of curve it up to bring those arms in a bit. Then I'm going to take those hard corners off the inside of that. Take those hard corners off again. All right, now for the hands, we're going to take off those hard corners here on each side. We're going to take off about a 1/4 inch, same kind of thing we did in the head, right? Like so, on that side, and about like so on this side. That starts to provide us a little curve. We do a little more on that side than we did on this side, so let's even it up. That's too much. There we go. Much better. Now, how do we separate our hands, right? This is actually a lot easier than you think. We're going to go right down the middle with a V-cut. And so I'm going to start upside down because I prefer it that way. And so I'm going to figure out where the middle is. And I'm going to just put the tip of the knife in. Start centered up like this. I come a little bit over, kicking that back end out a little bit, angling it over. So the tip is going to be angled just like so. Just if I just turn it, maybe if this side here is noon, going straight up past it, I'm putting it maybe to like 2 o'clock. And then I'm just going to carve straight down at that angle like so. And then I come over here and I'm going to go to 10 o'clock with the top of that knife blade. And then do the same thing to take out that little sliver like so. That'll help me line things up, okay? I'm going to deepen that right there. And actually, I'm going to go a little bit deeper. I'm going to do it from this angle, I think, here. And just carve it like that. And now let's do it the other way. Like that all the way up. Now we got a little bit of a line defined between those two arms. So to do the rest of it, what we're going to do is we're going to carve off 45-degree angles in those corners. Just carve in like that and down. Same thing up here. Carve a 45-degree angle. Carve out that hole there, like that. And do the same thing on the bottom, about a 45-degree, like that. Carve up to it. Same thing over here, about a 45-degree. And now we've got some hands starting to develop out of some big blocks, huh? Looked terrible before. And now we can make these hands look far more realistic, far better, just by taking off all of these hard corners and starting to round this up a little bit, okay? So pay attention to your wood grain, figure out which direction you need to come from, and start rounding off all those hard lines all along the tops and bottoms of the arms, along the elbows, front of the hands, side of the hands, tops of the hands. Like so. And just keep working it until you get happy with what you got. And then take a look at it again to make sure you got everything. Okay. But look at those hands. Aren't they looking better now? They're starting to look like what we're looking for, because we want him to look like he's kind of, sorry, hitting the camera. We want him to look like he's kind of flowing, right? Like he's growing up out of the pot and backing up like a plant would do, right? Like a plant would do. And so you got his hands kind of folded up in front there. And I like the way he's looking so far. I'm going to try taking this section here in the front in a little bit further. There's that one cut we did. We're not going to avoid that cut. The cut is there. But I'm going to show you how we're going to fix it later. I got a special tool. You know, the Mickey Mouse Clubhouse, you know, the special tool that we're going to use later? I got a special tool we're going to use later. It's called the kitchen sink. And you'll be surprised at what it does. You will be surprised at what it does. So I'm just cleaning up these cuts now. Sinking them a little bit further in spots. Using a brush to clean things up is fantastic. That's just a stiff bristle brush I got off of Amazon. And you can use a toothbrush, you can use a dental brush, whatever you want. This is just a scrub brush, right? It's a $4 scrub brush off Amazon. If you want to find one yourself, search wooden scrub brush. And I just do that, and it gets all those little fuzzies out of a carving. When you're doing that, it makes it where you can see exactly what you've got left to do. So it's looking pretty good here for the hands, outside of that one little cut there that we did superfluously that we didn't need. But when we take care of that later, it'll be all right. Okay, so let's clean up the top of this pot right now. So I'm just going to recut all of this. Just shave off all that shatter that we left from the stop cuts. Just taking my time. and recarving it all the way up to the base. Like so. And it takes a little time to do this. Not an inordinate amount of time. It's not unnecessary. But if you do this, it's going to look so much better than if you had skipped it, than if you had just left it. And some folks will just leave it, especially when you're new. You don't think, oh, should I do that? Maybe I won't. I'm not going to clean up my cuts. You will go from looking like a rank amateur to looking like a beginner, just a beginner. And that can be fun. So you can see how much more clean it is around that pot now on that base. It looks far better. So what we have left now is going to be the head and providing that signature Groot look, okay? So we're going to take off this end grain up here, all those saw marks along the top, and use that paring cut. The thing about the paring cut, if you haven't seen it before, is I use the right thumb for all the engine here. And the way it's working is this. The right thumb is pushing the carving, and the knife isn't really moving. I'm just flexing the hand, and that thumb is moving independently of the knife on the side. So I'm not in danger of cutting my thumb. I get it here, and I work at like there. So the knife is moving, but it's not moving much. It's the carving doing most of the moving. And I just do it like this. When that knife slides past it, it's sliding past the thumb that's going under it. So it's a good maneuver to get good at because you get a lot of grip strength. And the end grain is harder to carve than any part of the carving outside of that. It's harder to carve across the grain like that than anywhere else. So, okay, so we got that done. We cleaned up that top part. Now, if you look at the Groots we've got done, each one has a bit of a personality difference with the size of their eyes, the cant of their smile, and the style of their hair, so to speak, on the top of their head. This guy's got a good incline on one side. He's got an incline on the other side. And I kind of like those inclines. So we're going to give our new guy an incline. And let's take a little bit off the right on this guy. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to do a paring cut and just start taking a little bit off of the right side here. A little bit at a time. Like so. That's a good little bit. Maybe a little bit more on this side. And you can do a push cut here too. It's a little bit harder to do a push cut than it is that paring cut. And now that we got that done, we're going to go ahead and carve in some good indentations. I come in just randomly and push my knife in and I cut to it to make a little V cut like so. All right, that's a good deep little cut there. And we're going to do another one right here up the middle. And then do another one right here over a little further to the side. Like so. We got a couple along the front. Let's do one on this side here. Like so. One right there. Like that. One more here on the back. And we'll do a couple actually on the back. We'll do another one right here. I'll take out part of that corner like that. And maybe do two on this side here. Smaller ones. Like that. And then like that. So we got kind of a Bart Simpson haircut going on right there, huh? We got him coming along pretty good. Now, how do we do that face? So to carve this face, we're going to carve a couple of eyes and it's a bare hint of a mouth. And you can see on the overlay here, this is the guy that we're working on now. This is him just finished, okay? So what we're going to do is to make the plane easy to draw the eyes on. You see right now we got those lines right here and here. It's hard to draw a circle, sorry. It's hard to draw a circle on those lines. So to make this easier, we're going to come in and create two planes for the eyes. So about 2/3 of the way down the face, I'm going to come in here and I'm just going to start to carve a plane for that eye. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side here. Carve a plane for that eye by just carving out from 2/3 of the way down in and out. And so I created two little planes there. And you can see that a little bit better maybe from that angle. See exactly what I did there, okay? Going in and out. That also created, by effect, a little plane for our nose, or our mouth, right there in the middle, okay? I think that's just going to be fantastic. So now we're going to draw our eyes. Nice big eyes inside that plane. And for me, it's easier for me to match up a size if I flip it upside down and do it the other direction. The bill of my hat keeps hitting that light. Let me adjust that. There we go. And then draw a nice big eye over here as well. Do not make the mistake of making them exactly the same, because you don't need to make them exactly the same. Look at these three I've got finished here. Not one of them has an eye that's exactly the same size as the other ones. And that provides cuteness, it provides whimsy, it provides emotion and character to the carvings. They don't need to be perfect. They just need to be fairly good. Fairly good is good enough. So we're going to carve those circles. These guys set up again. We're going to carve those circles out, and you can do this again with just the rough out knife. And we're going to go ahead and trace that line out. Just the tip of the blade, and I'm barely getting in there. I mean, I am just using the minutest part of that tip, like so, to get in there, just to draw a line and trace that circle. If you're having to put pressure here to do this, and you're having to push hard, you're doing it wrong. You should be very easily doing this without problem drawing. So you shouldn't have to lose control of the blade. If you do, you are applying way too much pressure. Just like so, and then we're going to do the other one as well. And you have to follow the line exactly. That line there is a good guide for you. If you miss it and you're like, you know what, that's fine. That's cool. That's you. Alrighty, there we go. So, got those all carved up. Now I'm just going to carve in with the tip of the blade, and I'm pretty flat on the eye surface here. I mean, I'm barely coming in at an angle, just see it right here. I'm just barely coming in at an angle like so, just slightly to provide a little indentation along the outside edge of the eye. I'm not going to be carving along the inside of the eye. So the inside plane of the eye here, in the middle of the eye, is going to stay pretty flat. And it's the outside edges that are going to provide that contour, that shape, to make it look like a round ball, as you can see here. So we're just carving out that shape to the outside edge, like so. And that's the first eye. It's looking pretty good. I can clean that up just a little bit. There's a little bit of a chip left in there. So same thing for the other eye. And if you want to make a more pronounced effect for the eyes and for the emotions, make one eye a lot smaller than the other one. Try it out. Play around with that emotion. Play around with that expression. If you really want to get some more expression too, draw some eyebrows on him. You can get more expression out of those eyebrows. Alrighty, now I'm going to go along the outside edge of those eyes and just take away that hard line. Just carve that away. Like so. When I took that hard edge off, you can see that in the right eye I did that, but I didn't do it in the left eye. You can see the difference. So we definitely want to do that because it's going to look a little bit better. And a little bit better can mean a lot. Just that little bit, like so. And he's looking a lot better. Now we're going to do a little bit of a mouth. Just a small smirk. Doesn't have to be much. I'm going to come in at a pretty deep angle and just make a little V cut, but curved. I'm going to go in right here and just curve it around and up. And then I'm going to come in from the top and I do the same thing. Curve it around and over. And that's it. I might elongate that a little bit more. Not elongate, deepen that a little bit more. There we go. So he's got a goofy little smile on his face, just like so. And that is our Baby Groot, all finished up. Now, you've seen how he looks right now. Bring that light back over, okay? We've got those little imperfections there in that line that we cut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take him before I paint him. I'm going to take him over to the sink, and I'm going to wash him with water for about 2-3 minutes. And I'll bring him back, and you'll see what he looks like in 3, 2, 1. And there he is. So you can see that line is just barely visible there, just a hint of it. And he looks buttery smooth now. I mean buttery. And you can see how nice it looks right there along that base where we cleaned up those lines. He looks just fantastic. And all I did was run him under water, lukewarm water for 2 to 3 minutes, and scrubbed all of the whole carving. Really looks great. And this is the point I like to take a carving over to get painted when he's wet like this. I prefer painting when they're wet. I don't paint when they're oiled. I don't usually use regular oil. I use Danish oil a lot, but usually black walnut Danish oil like that. So that's what we got done today. If you want to see the painting video, I'm going to have a separate video for that. So you'll be able to see that in the description or in the links in the end of the chapter video. And you'll be able to paint this guy just like I did right here with these 3 guys. Get the same look going. And the painting video is actually on this guy because I carved this guy first and then did the other video and then realized afterwards that I had lost audio on my carving video after I'd done him. So the painting video has this guy featured prominently and the carving video will have this guy featured prominently as we've got that done finally. So, and that's all I got for you today. We got Baby Groot all carved up. If you want to see the painting video and how we get to this here from the unfinished, unpainted version, you can go ahead and watch that next. I'll have a link to that video in the end channel when the videos pop up. And once you can click, one of those will be the painting video. So make sure you check that out. Head over to Instagram and give me a follow over there. If you'd like to help support the channel, you can purchase some of these stickers. These are high quality matte 3-inch die cut stickers with funny sayings that I came up with or found on the internet to just give you something fun to have that will also give you a chance to help support the channel if you want to. Don't feel like you need to, but if you'd like to and you want to get some stickers, you can head over to Etsy and go ahead and do that. That's my favorite one right there. This is my carving sticker. You can also help out by getting a subscription to Wood Carving Illustrated. I've got an affiliate link down below if you want to do that, or just purchase anything else from their shop, and that also helps out the channel as well. Any money I earn from that is going to go towards buying things that I can review because I don't want to sell you knives, right? So I'm going to buy knives I can use to review, or buy tools, or buy other things, or buy camera equipment, buy new lights, and buy new cameras and camera lenses so I can do things better. I'm still a work in progress, folks, so I appreciate your patience, and I appreciate your time, and thank you so much for stopping by the channel. Outside of that, make sure you click on the links popping up on the screen. I really appreciate your time. Have a great day.